There is a forest we all must enter. It is dark, mysterious, and utterly silent, except for the soft whisper of something ancient calling your name. This forest is not outside of you, it lies within. It is not made of trees, but of memories, desires, fears, and forgotten truths. And in this forest, there is a mirror, the kind of mirror that doesn't show you your reflection, but yourself, raw, wild, unfiltered. This is the terrain of self-realization, as understood by Swiss psychoanalyst Carl Gustav Jung, one of the most enigmatic and profound explorers of the human psyche. His theory of individuation, the heart of self-realization, demands that we do not merely live, but that we become. So what is this self that Jung speaks of, and what does it mean to realize it? Self-realization, for Jung, is not a moment of epiphany. It is a lifelong process, an unfolding, a becoming. It is not about achieving perfection, but about wholeness. To be whole means to integrate all aspects of yourself, the noble and the shameful, the conscious and the unconscious, the light and the shadow. You are not born whole, you are born fragmented. And life, if you are courageous enough, is the journey of gathering these pieces and shaping them into your most authentic self. Jung envisioned the human psyche as a vast inner theater where multiple characters coexist and interact, often in conflict. To realize the self is to know these characters, understand their motives, and eventually harmonize them. Let's meet some of the key players in this psychological drama. 1. The ego. This is the center of your conscious awareness. It's who you think you are. It handles your decisions, your day-to-day choices. But the ego is only a small island floating on a vast, unconscious sea. 2. The shadow. The forbidden twin. The part of yourself you repress or deny. Your rage, your jealousy, your insecurities. Everything you were told not to be or what you learned to hate in others. To embrace your shadow is to reclaim power, humility, and truth. 3. The persona, the mask you wear to interact with society. It's your role, your identity in public, the you on social media, in the office, in your church. But a mask, if worn too long, can become your prison. 4. Anima, animus, the inner opposite. If you're a man, the anima represents your inner feminine. If you're a woman, the animus is your inner masculine. These aren't gender roles, but psychic energies that must be acknowledged and integrated for true balance. Self-realization begins when you start to differentiate these elements, when you start to realize, that's my ego speaking, or this fear is part of my shadow, or I've been living through my persona. Awareness creates the gap between you and your unconscious patterns, but differentiation alone is not enough. The next step is integration, bringing these opposites into a creative dialogue, not suppressing the parts you dislike, but understanding them, loving them, giving them a seat at the table. Jung said it best. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. At the center of Jung's theory of self-realization is individuation, a psychological pilgrimage where the goal is not to fit in, but to become who you truly are. This journey is often triggered by crisis. Perhaps it's heartbreak, or a job loss, or that gnawing late-night question, is this all there is? In Jungian terms, the soul begins to rebel when you've lived too long under a false identity. The call to individuation feels like both a curse and a blessing. It will strip you of illusions and comfort, but give you back your life. Jung often turned to mythology to explain psychological truths, and the hero's journey, so familiar in stories from Moses to Harry Potter, is the symbolic path of individuation. Think of the hero. He begins in the ordinary world. Then something happens, a loss, a tragedy, a supernatural event. He is thrust into an unknown world and must face trials, slay dragons, meet mentors, and suffer betrayals. but ultimately he returns to his world changed, with a new gift, the knowledge of the self. Jung believed that each of us is the hero of our own inner myth. Imagine a woman named Ada. She's always been kind, quiet, helpful. Everyone says she's a good person, but deep down she feels hollow. Sometimes she snaps at strangers. At other times, she has dreams of burning things, screaming and running away. In therapy, she meets her shadow. She realizes that her kindness was partly a mask, a survival mechanism, that her suppressed anger had turned into depression, that she feared confrontation because as a child she was punished for expressing herself. Through journaling, therapy, and dreams, she begins to face the parts of herself she once feared, and in doing so she becomes more honest, more alive, more whole. Self-realization for Ada was not about becoming better, but becoming truer. So, what does it mean to realize the self? It is not a moment of arrival, but a continual act of mirroring, of looking within and seeing the totality of who you are, not just the curated version. It's allowing the shadow to walk beside you. It's removing the mask of persona and daring to be seen. It's acknowledging the divine opposite within you, your anima or animus, and letting it soften your edges or strengthen your boundaries. It is, in Jung's words, the act of accumulating and resigning meaning throughout life. A spiral journey, a cycle of shedding and becoming. Why does it all matter today? In an age of filters and performance, where identity is often shaped by algorithms, Jung's message cuts deeper than ever. You are more than your persona. You are more than your curated self. You are more than the trauma you carry or the dreams you chase. You are a mystery meant to be explored, not solved. There's a reason so many people feel lost, even when they're successful. The world tells us to become someone. Jung urges us to return to who you really are. Self-realization isn't about escaping your flaws. It's about embracing them. It's not about climbing higher. It's about digging deeper. And if you're brave enough to enter that forest, to meet your shadow, embrace your inner opposite, and shed the many masks, you might just find, staring back at you from the mirror of your soul, not a stranger, but someone you've known all along. If this resonates with you, pause for a moment. Breathe. Close your eyes. And ask yourself, not who the world wants you to be, but who you already are beneath the layers. That is the beginning of self-realization.